So, good evening, namaskar to all of you. We start.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, good evening. We are supposed to deal with Nachiketas' first wish today. I don't have to go through Nachiketas' story, you all know now. If you haven't gone home and related the story to somebody else, still remember. So, now before that, I want to do a little more study on the five senses. We discussed sight and we discussed how the five indriyas in the body of the Upanishad. As we go further, we will come to this understanding of the five senses. So, I want to give you a briefing because we are studying something which we speculate at the moment is outside the ken of the ordinary senses and therefore cannot be physically touched or brought before us. So, the sight. We discussed yesterday that our sight cannot function beyond a certain limit. We discussed that. I don't want to go back to that. Therefore, we need instruments of perception to see, to further our sight. And we also said that therefore, perhaps there are other instruments of perception in the human system which can see beyond the ordinary five senses. This is what we were discussing yesterday. And we specifically picked up sight, discussed it. Today, I want you to go into the Vedantic subject of which is what Upanishads deal with anyway, with the relative reality about things. We discussed quantum physics. Nobody knows whether the smallest unit of matter is a particle or a wave. We are in this twilight world of uncertainty. It's called the uncertainty principle actually. Now, that is the basic. Now, very few people can actually do quantum physics and look at the quantum particles and whatever they are called, waves or whatever. But in ancient times, there has been a dialogue on this particular subject, which is so simple that even without going into a lab where you actually have a quantum apparatus to detect the quantum units, you can understand that the world may not be what we think it is. One point we discussed yesterday, that the sun rises and sets in front of our eyes, but actually it does not, because it is the world that moves, the earth that moves. That much we came. Now I am going to look at this, a material object, and how certain can we be of the attributes of this material object? How sure can we be? Although we are dead certain usually. Let us therefore imagine that in front of us there is a small block, maybe made of wood, maybe made of clay, maybe made of whatever material, but in front of us there is a block, small block. Like a cube. Let's say it's a cube. It has 6 sides. It's in front of us. And this cube is red in color. Red. And it is, let's say, 2 inches into 2 inches or 4 inches into 4 inches, a small cube. And it has a certain weight and it has a certain hardness. This is the cube. So we think we understand all its attributes. We know it is red. Red is the color of the cube. It's hard or soft depending upon how you feel it with your fingers. It's measured by the scale, so it is 2 into 2 and it is red in color. So it's a reality for us, right? Well, for all. Now I am going to examine what we call the attributes of the cube one by one. First thing we notice is the color, red color. Now just look at this, high school physics is enough, just look at it carefully. What is the short form for the different colors that you see in white light? There's a whole Vibgyor, violet, indigo, blue, green, yellow, orange and red. These are the colors we know, Vibgyor. And white light consists of all these colors. Even in your little lab, they will show you an experiment where you put all the colors together and rotate the disc very fast at a certain, you can see only white. Also, when white light penetrates a prism, it comes out on the other side as a spectrum, Vibgyor spectrum. There's beyond Vibgyor also, there's beyond violet there is ultraviolet, we can't see. And after red there is infrared, again we cannot see because our eyes don't have the frequency for that. However, are we so sure, are we very sure that the quality called red by which we distinguish the cube belongs to the cube, or it belongs to light, and the cube has such characteristics that it absorbs all the other colors and reflects only the red? This is what you mean by red. When I say something is green, which means that particular organism or material absorbs all colors and reflects only green. If it absorbs all the colors including green, then it is called black. If it reflects all the colors together, then it is white, white light. So, is color the attribute of the cube or is color the attribute of light? Of course, the cube, this particular cube for various reasons, we do not know, reflects on, there is nobody sitting there and saying, okay, reflect the red. No, but for some reason it reflects only red and absorbs the rest. But the color it reflects does not belong to it. The only attribute has reflecting that particular color. So the color of that which we were so sure till 2 minutes ago as red actually is the attribute of light, artificial light or sunlight or whatever light. And depending on the color of the light, you might see the color also differently, right? Because then there is a change in its reflective capacity. So one attribute which we are dead sure, red cube, the red has been kind of eliminated to the side because it is not really the attribute of the cube. You don't need a reactor to find this, have you? Okay. Now we come to the size of the object. Well, it has been measured by the scale, no question. So we say it is 4 inches by 4 inches. Now I am going to go to something interesting. We call it a cube before we go into the size, shape, let us say the shape. We call it a cube, it has these 6 sides, regular sides and so on. How do we know that it is this particular shape? Because we see through our eyes. And how does the eye function? All of us have eyes with a certain kind of lens in our eyes. We all have convex eyes, convex lenses in our eyes of a particular power. There's a problem, then you need glasses. We all have. Therefore, since we are born with convex lenses in our eyes and not some other kind of lens, we all tend to see the square like or a straight line as a straight line. If you have sat during the rainy season in a car inside with water dripping on the windscreen and looked at the lampshade without putting on the wiper, the lampshade instead of being lamppost, the lamppost instead of being straight may appear to be a little bent to you because you are looking through a distorted glass or anything that can distort your vision. But you know that it is straight because the lens in your eyes from birth say that it is straight. If suppose the lens in your eyes were like the distorted glass in the windscreen, what would you have considered as a straight line or a straight post from birth? Not now. Now you say no, it's not like that. But just look at this carefully. Now, let's use a little imagination. Think of some other creature on this earth. Believe me, there are many creatures with different kind of eyes. Imagine some other creature whose eyes, the lens in its eyes or the setup of the eyes completely different. How will it see the lamppost? How big will it see? How small will it see? What will be the shape will it see? I'll give you an example. The common house fly has what is known as a compound eye, not like us. It has a compound eye. Like that, there may be many creatures of different kinds of lenses. I often wonder how an elephant looking at us through its eyes sees us. Maybe it sees us like huge mountains coming and says, hey, he's coming to attack me. We think we are only this much. Now this common housefly has compound eyes, which means many lenses are there of different kinds in its eye. So how will it see this cube sitting here? Or what image will it get when it looks at us? How will it look at this lamppost which we think is standing straight? Maybe it will see many lampposts branching out. We can't say, we have to get into the eye of the fly to see, okay? People have made digital pictures of what a fly sees when it sees something, and they are fantastic. They are like psychedelic pictures. We would have also seen that, but unfortunately or unfortunately, our eyes are not made like that. So, the attribute which we call the color we have put in one side, the attribute which we call the cube of a particular shape, does it unconditionally belong to the object or is it relative to the observer, the instrument that observes? You don't need a reactor to this is simple. Alexander Pope, the poet, wrote beautifully when he said, the difference is as great between the optic seeing as the object seen. So, two of the 100% sure color and shape have been kind of becoming uncertain now, because that's what we think. It may be something else, we don't know. But we won't admit it because we are born with this kind of lens from the birth, and therefore we see it this way. Okay. So, color, shape, size. We think this little cube is a little cube because it's only 2 inches into 2 inches or 4 inches into 4 inches. Okay. Now, how will a little ant which is on the other side of the cube, who wants to come to the other side of the cube, how would it think the cube is? Is it a small thing for the ant? No, it's a big thing, it's a mountain. It has to climb and of course scale measurement is 4 inches, I agree, which is made by us, all these measurements depending on our experiences. The ant will take a long time to climb. For the ant, this is not a small 4-inch cube, it's a big thing to climb and get down. So what is big and what is small? It's very relative. You see a piece of cloth. No, I'm wearing cloth. The shirt. It is quite opaque. I can feel it. But we all know that cloth is made of the warp and the woof. Threads this way, threads this way. Now, while it appears solid, if there is thread this way and threads this way, there are gaps which we cannot see. That is why when we use a cloth for filtering, for instance, you know that there is a gap because the water trickles down. But to all appearances, it is solid. Now, a little microbe can go through this cloth as if it's going through a fortress. Suppose there is a fort like this way, this way, this way, and the microbe just happily goes through it. It's solid. So which is true? Whether the object is big or small, is it according to us or according to some other creatures? Or how solid is this when it is not solid for a microbe? And a microbe is also a living being, you may understand that. We are not the only licensed living beings. So, what is the meaning of solid and what is the meaning of size and what is the meaning of shape and what is the meaning of color? All these attributes definitely, without any doubt, the attributes of the thing, or is there a space for doubt? Actually they are or they are not. Now, hardness. I can't crumble the cube, it's very hard for me. What about an elephant? Cube is gone. Not so hard for the elephant, hard for me. So what is its ultimate characteristic? Is it hard or soft? So now we have looked at something which we thought was very concrete and we knew completely about it without any doubt. And suddenly we are faced with the fact it may not be so definite as we think, at least that much. Maybe something else, maybe different. What I am trying to say is it is all very relative. It is not absolute, which is in simple terms a carryover from the uncertainty principle, not in quantum but in ordinary life. One person's food is another person's poison. It's relative, very relative. So the Upanishad, which is Vedanta, says that everything that we see is relative. That absolute is only the being of that thing, not the form and shape in which it is. Something is there, of course. I can't say there is nothing there. There is. But what I think it is may not be. May not be. So, and this is what we did when you did the Mandukya. A dream is real relative to the waking state. waking state is real relative to the dream. So, which is absolute? The witness is there, of course. That witness is absolute, it remains. But what the witness witnesses, what the seer sees, seer, S-E-E-R, one who sees, the seer sees is completely relative. I am not saying whether it exists or not, but it relatively exists. So, this background we should have when we go into the rest of the Upanishads. Keep this in mind because it will come after some time. So, we know yesterday the story of Nachiketas sitting in Yamadeva's house, and Yamadeva has promised him 3 boons and is asking him the 3 boons. We discussed also in a short way now. So, Nachiketas' first boon, Shanta Sankalpaha Sumana Yatha Syat Vitamanyur Gautamo Abhimrityo Tvat Prastram Mabhivadat Pratita Etatrayanam Prathamam Varam Vrini. The first Prathama Varam, the first boon is that my father, who here he calls Gautama, many places Gautama is a meaning of a name, it also means father. So, my father, without anxiety, with not being upset, may he be gracious to me, O death, and recognizing me, greet me when you set me free. I choose this as the first gift of the 3. So, 2 things are clear from this shloka. One is that Nachiketas is going to go back, is going to be free of death. And when he is free of death, he says, may my father recognize me and happily greet me. Why would he do that? Because it's going to take not many years for Nachiketas to go be free of death. Instantaneous, once he understands. So why wouldn't his father recognize him? Now, the underlying meaning of this is that when a person touches the truth, even though in many outward appearances he may appear to be what he was, actually he is not, he is changed. We believe or we understand that even the cells of the body of a person who has touched the source undergo a certain change. Brain cells, of course, but even others. And therefore, it shouldn't be that his father, seeing this bright man standing in front of him, thinks, who is this? Is he somebody else? Because his whole attitude has changed, everything is changed. Even though he looks like Nachiketas, can this be Nachiketas? So he says, let him be free of the doubt and accept me when I go back with happiness. I mean, this is accept with happiness is a normal desire for any good human being, that I don't make somebody unhappy, especially my father or mother. So that is the first boon, not much to think about. Yama said, Yatha purastad bhavita pratita audalika aruni mat prastraha sukham ratris shayita vitamanyus tvam darshiman mrityu mukhat pramuktam. Yama said, as of old, like before, your father, recognizing you through my favor, will sleep peacefully through the nights. He will not be agitated and will be happy seeing you have been released from the jaws of death. He will sleep comfortably, nicely, blissfully understanding the fact that you are forever free of death now. So don't worry about that. Granted. Nachiketas' second wish. He has three. Swarge loke na bhayam kimchanasti na tatratvam na jaraya bibheti ubhe tirthva ashanaya pipase shokati go modate swargaloke. Nachiketas said, in the world of heaven, where one goes according to one's deeds, in the realm of heaven, there is no fear whatsoever. You are not there, nor is there fear of old age. There is no hunger and thirst. There is no sorrow. One rejoices in the world of heaven. Now, one second. In the Gayatri, before you begin the body of the mantra, there is one sentence. Bhur bhuvasva. Om bhur bhuvasva. Not swaha, swa. Now, bhu is a short form of bhuloka, this world, which is what, according to the Mandukya, what is this world? A waking state of consciousness, which is where we experience this world. Bhuva loka is the dream world. Swa is Swarga Loka, short form for Swarga. Then after that the Jana Loka and Tapa Loka and so on. Let's not worry about that at the moment. Swarga Loka, Swa. And what is Swa or heaven in the Mandukya? Deep sleep. Shushupti. Now, in Shushupti, there is no fear of old age, there is no fear of death, there is no hunger, there is no thirst, there is no sorrow. One rejoices in the world of heaven. The only comparison we know of a realm where there is none of these things is sleep, deep sleep. At least we know only that much. But we know that there is a state, even while we are alive, which exists, in which it's very heavenly. Why? Because there is no fear, there is no hunger, there is nothing. For that you have to be conscious. You are not. You are in some kind of a internally withdrawn state where you only enjoy joy. Nachiketas says to Yama, if this is the state called heaven, you know, O death, sattvam agnim swargyam eshimrityo prabhruhitam shraddhadanaya mahyam. Thou, you know, O death, that this sacrifice of fire by which one reaches this heaven, describe it to me. I am full of faith. How do they live without the fear of death? This as I choose as my second boon. There seems to be, I have heard that seems to be some sacrifice where fire is involved, which leads one to the state where there is no fear of hunger or thirst or no fear of anything. One is fearless. So can you tell me what is this fire and what is this sacrifice that leads one to that world? Can you tell me? Yama said, knowing well as I do that fire, which is the aid to going to this world called heaven, I will describe it to you. I will tell you what is that fire, which will take you to that state which is free of hunger, thirst, and where you enjoy yourself, the fruits of all the good things that you have done. I will tell you about that fire which will take you even before death. This is something to be understood. After death, suppose everybody goes there, or in deep sleep, can we experience it when we are not sleeping also? Know that fire to be the means of attaining the boundless world as the support of the universe and as hidden in the secret place. Nihitam guhayam, abiding in the secret place, hidden in a cave. There is this fire which is to be lit, which takes you to that world where you are free of misery, free of fear. What is this fire? This I shall describe. Yama then described to him that fire. Lokadim agnim tam uvacha tasmai. He said, what is this sacrifice which happened in the beginning of the world? What kind of bricks are used in the building of the altar for the sacrifice? How many and in what manner? And he repeated all that just as it has been told to him. So Death was very pleased and extremely delighted, Yama, and said, yes, you have understood. And being happy that this fellow has understood how to light that fire that takes one beyond, Yama was so delighted and he said to Nachiketas, I will give you an extra boon today. That fire of sacrifice will be named after you. It will be named the Nachiketas Fire. Now, take all this entire knowledge with you, this understanding, the whole chain of knowledge with you, which mortals generally know only of one link, not the whole chain. He who has lit the Nachiketas fire thrice, performs the 3 acts, crosses over birth and death, and goes close to the omniscient, resplendent, adorable Brahman and realizes everlasting peace. So where is this fire? Let us read some more to get an idea. What is this fire? Because if there is such a fire, we should know it. We should light it somewhere. The wise man who has sacrificed thrice to Nachiketas fire and who so knowing performs meditation on fire, throwing off the first bonds of death, overcoming sorrow, rejoices in the world of heaven. This is thy fire, O Nachiketas, which leading to heaven, which you have chosen as the second boon. This fire sacrifice people will call by your name. Choose now the third boon. First, let's finish with the second boon. What is this fire that is hidden in the secret place and which needs to be built up step by step, which will take you to that which is beyond ordinary life, which is as peaceful and enjoyable as Sushupti, deep sleep, where there is no hunger or there is no thirst. What is this fire? They called it the Nachiketas fire, of course. Now, we need to go a little bit of a diversion, a long round to understand what this fire means. First, let's understand the meaning of the word Agni. Agni, the word in Sanskrit means, normally we say fire. Yeah. Actually, Agni is not just fire, it means combustion. It's the same root of the Latin word igne. Today if you get onto your car or get onto your bike or sit in your car, you want to start it, you need to turn what? The ignition switch. If the ignition thing is not working, your car is not going to fire, your engine. Ignition comes from igne, which means the fire. Agni. Sanskrit root is Agni. Now, this fire has been a great symbol in Vedic times of many things. Fire has been worshipped. Agni has been worshipped. It keeps you warm in winter. I mean, this is normally what we think. It keeps you warm. It needs for food to be cooked. Fire is required. I think Homo sapiens started living longer after they learned the art of lighting a fire and cooking. They ate a lot of raw food and some died and some lived. I am not a great advocate of raw food. Well, fruits, yes. Okay. Now, the fire therefore has been a symbol of civilization, moving from one state to another. Because from fire came this whole, in the olden days they did not have matchboxes. How did they light the fire? By rubbing two dry sticks together. A spark came and the spark caught on to the hay or dry grass and then it became a raging fire. So producing fire itself was a great act. It was not so easy. Now you have a lighter. There they had to get one dry stick, on that another dry stick and rotate it so that the fire spark comes. So the rishis said to themselves, the fire didn't come from anywhere, the fire is hidden in the dry wood. It's only when you rubbed, it came out from inside. So the unmanifested fire became manifest through friction. The heat came out of the combustion. And when the fire once is lit, you can lit 1,000 fires from one fire. If you have one candle, you can light 1,000 candles with it. And it is unending. And when it catches up, it can destroy everything in no time and turn everything to ashes. And for all reactions, including chemical reactions, fire or heat or combustion, fire in its different aspects, is essential for every reaction, even chemical reactions. This is the importance of the word Agni. It is not just the household fire that you have. Agni is this whole big idea about heat, fire, production, creation, destruction. So you can imagine what an important word it was in the ancient Vedic times when the only thing available was this fire. Now, if you are very enthusiastic about, I am coming to the psychological aspect. Okay, physical aspect, another thing. You take a piece of wood and light a fire. It's like this, you light it. You can hold the wood down, but the fire will always burn up. Fire doesn't burn like this, it always goes like this. And it is kind of triangular because there is a base and there is point going up. So in ancient times, the fire was considered to be a symbol of the spirit, which means higher aspirations. Even if you try to hold down, the aspiration is upwards. And change. It can cause chemical changes, it can also turn everything to ashes, which is also a chemical change. So, fire is so important. Now we come to the psychological aspect. Suppose you have lot of enthusiasm, how will you describe it? I was fired with enthusiasm. I was fired with the passion to do. Passion is also symbolically a fire. One is fired by passion. How would I call my old girlfriend? Old flame or old water? Flame. Because its desire is also symbolized as a fire. It slowly burns up. And then when it is lit, it is difficult to put it off. So, psychologically, fire also is the passion, the desire to reach the higher levels of existence. One side. Now they are also saying it is hidden in the hidden place from where it manifests itself. You must understand that they are talking from the time when fire was lit by rubbing sticks together, dry sticks together. So the concept was that fire is already hidden in this, in a secret place, and when you rub, it's manifesting itself, it's revealing itself. One side. If you go to the practice of yoga or Tantra, Yoga Tantra, you will find that there are several centers in the system which are called chakras. I will not deal with it fully now because the subject is different. And of these, there is one in the middle of the body near the navel, which is called the Manipura. Now, this Manipura, the seat of Manipura, or the tattva, the principle that operates in Manipura is fire, Agni. At the bottommost, it is Prithvi, earth, then there is water, apas, and the next one is fire. Now, this fire center is activated through certain practices which are called Yoga Tantras. When this happens, one's aspirations are taken to the higher levels of understanding and consciousness, which may not happen when our mind is in the lower centers. And Agni is the principle that rules the Manipura. This Agni is also called the Nachiketas Fire. You know how the altar is made with bricks? It's square. The lowest center called Muladhara is a square, which means it is material, Prithvi. And then on top of that, water is poured, and this water is presented as the crescent moon, which is the Apas Tattva, watery principle. Immediately after that comes the fire. Fire is central because through the fire and combustion, this solid and liquid are turned into vapor, into air, which is something you cannot see but feel. Wind, air, Vayu. So the next tattva is Vayu, and so on. We will not get into this right now. So therefore, for the yogi, and here I think Nachiketas is an yogi, the fire center is very important for him. And this fire has been named the Nachiketas Fire. Why? Because this young Nachiketas understood for the first time from the Lord of Death Yama that there is this hidden fire which needs to be activated. So, after hearing this, Yama said to Nachiketas, now that you have understood about this fire sacrifice, so Nachiket, well, what does this fire do? It burns away all the dross, all that is gross, and all that is left is the fine mind which reaches to the higher levels. He said, now that you have understood this, now ask me the third boon. What is the third boon that you still have a boon to ask? Ask. Now here is a very difficult question that Nachiketas is asking, the third boon. Nachiketas says to Yama, Yayam prite vichikitsa manushye astiti ekanayam asti iti chaike etad vidyam manushishta tvayaham varanam esha varastritiyaha. This is my third boon that I ask. What is it? There is this doubt in regard to a person who has departed. Some hold that he is, some hold that he is not. This doubt has come to us even today. From the time of Nachiketas till today, this doubt exists, right? It's not just the doubt which happened 1,000 years ago. Two things which have always existed, this doubt and the identity crisis. Who am I? 1,000 years. So, he says, there is this doubt in regard to one who has departed. Some hold that he is, and some say he is not. I would be instructed by you in this knowledge. Of the boons, this is the third boon that I ask. What is that boon? After death, do I exist? Or am I finished when the body is dead? If so, can this death be avoided? Is there something in me that does not die? It will come as we go along. I want to stop. Is there something that does not die but which is always? Which means after the body dies, do I exist? If I exist, how do I exist? And what am I really? And can I be forever free of this disease called death? This is the third question of Yama. Oh, sorry, Nachiketas to Yama. Now I will say one more sentence, one more shloka. I will read what Yama said to Nachiketas and we'll stop for today and have some question answers. Don't ask me about death, huh? I am not Yama. But we can discuss. Why? Because even Yama finds it difficult to answer this. That's why I want to read this before we stop, so that you don't ask me inconvenient questions. Yeah. Yama said to Nachiketas, my dear young fellow, it's not written here, I am saying, my dear young fellow, even the gods of old had doubt on this point. Deve ratrapi vichikitsitam puraha. Those days, in the old times also, the devas had doubts about this, what you are asking me. It is not indeed easy to understand. Nahi suvijñeyam manur esha dharmaha. This particular truth, it is not so easy to understand. Anyam varam nachiketo vrinishva. Choose another day, another boon. Do not press me, release me from this, because he only said, ask me 3 boons and I will give. So please don't hold me to that. O Nachiketas, even the gods of old had doubts on this. It is not easy to understand. So subtle is this truth. So, Anyam varam Nachiketo vrinishva. Choose another boon, O Nachiketa. Ma moparicchir, don't press me. Ati ma srijjainam, release me from this. Promise. Ask something else. Now we will see what Nachiketas answers tomorrow. What does he say to Yama, who wants to escape from this question? Where is my Emirates bookmark gone? So now we have some time for questions.
Thank you so much, sir. And we are expecting lots of questions today because of the topic we have discussed.
Right. But we
Here
don't
are
have that much time.
yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Like my question is that, so when you were talking about fire, so you like does so my question is that does fire also represent energy in the universe and in the body?
Very much. It is the fire that is the symbol of energy. Fire is combustion, fire is energy, psychologically, fire is desire and aspiration. It is desire which is actually a manifestation of energy. Unless you have energy, you cannot even have desire. A fellow who has no energy, what desire will he have? It's all done and gone, washed off. You're right. So, what is the question?
Yeah, like
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah, tell
Yeah.
me.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, like the first question was this only, and then I have a second unrelated question. Uh,
Unrelated.
Unrelated from the first question, but
Okay.
related to the
Okay. Okay.
discussion.
The subject, yes.
Yeah, so the second question is that, so Nachiketa here was having a doubt, right, that whether there is existence after death or not. So, if he would have died when he would have reached Yamaloka, then he wouldn't have had this question because he know that he's existing in Yamaloka. So maybe like, does that mean that he's still alive and has just reached Yamaloka somehow?
No, no, no. See, this whole story of Nachiketa has been formulated in the Upanishad to tell you that actually even after death one lives. Already it is concluded because he is dead. He is supposed to be dead and he has gone to Yamaloka and is talking to Yama. So, how can he be dead? So, the surmise from the beginning itself is that one survives after death. Now, the
But he
whole of
still
the
had a doubt.
he had a doubt because he is trying to clarify what ordinary mortals think. So, how does he express it? He says, some say. He doesn't say, I am saying. In the Upanishad, he says, some say people die, some say they don't. Can you clarify so that I can go back and tell them this is what it is? That you have to note. You are right, because he may not have died. If you look at it, you might think he didn't die, because if he dies, how can he ask questions there?
Right, right.
Which is the whole thing, which is what the Upanishad is trying to tell you.
Uh,
Good evening, sir.
Yes, good evening.
Sir, my question is, what is the significance of which the what is the significance of the order in which the boon was asked and it was granted? And would the story or the Upanishad would have changed the meaning if the first boon was asked last or the last boon was asked first?
This I don't know. This is this is how it is written in the Upanishad. I don't know why they put it first and why they put. Yeah, I can understand. I surmise that perhaps no commentator has commented on it. So I can surmise that perhaps the first question is an anxiety of a young boy who is worried about his father. It's a normal question, like, okay. And the second question is a deeper question about what is life. Now that he is satisfied that my father is okay and when I go back I am fine, then in that comfort he asks the next question. Okay. And the third question is put because it is based on the third question that this entire Upanishad dialogue takes place afterwards. So therefore it is put as the third. When we do it tomorrow, you will know why it is put as the third. What is so important in that? And if it is so important, why is it not asked in the beginning? All this we will learn as we go along.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Sir, as you told that there is a hidden fire that needs to be ignited in order to reach the world that is fearless, right? So my question is how this fire can be ignited and what is this fire? Hidden fire.
Now, my boy, first of all, the desire for lighting the fire has to come. Deep desire to light the fire has to come. Even the desire to understand the truth, no matter what obstacles are in front of us, when that comes, then it is a sign that the fire is going to be lit. I would want you to ask this question after we do the third boon. It is exactly, roughly something like this. Why is it asked the third? Because there Nachiketas' fire is lit because of a particular reason, because his only desire is to find the truth. Other things are not so important for him. When that desire comes in the mind, then the fire is already lit. The fire of desire for knowledge has been lit. Then a person who has already walked on that path may be helpful in keeping it in proper order. In the Nath Sampradaya where I come from, they say you light the fire and then you keep the fire, don't allow it to go off. Now that requires caretaking, right? Not enough if you once light the fire and forget about it. That caretaking is something that you learn in the process of understanding the Upanishad and practicing the techniques required to keep the fire on without going off, which unfortunately we cannot discuss here in this particular system. We can't discuss it, but that's a very personal affair. But let me say
So
to your question that the first requisite for the fire is the burning desire to know the truth. Why is it called burning desire? Because it's a fire.
so basically here the fire means the inner desire to know the truth, right?
Exactly, exactly. But there is also an element of heat in this involved, which is not just the heat of the moment. Uh, Anyone who practices the techniques required to take one's awareness from the gross to the subtle experiences actually a heat, a fire in the system. That is also a symbol.
Just one more thing, sir. If one have to know the truth, okay, one has to know the truth. He has to see that the world is like uh, never ending, right? It is not. It is going to end or not going to end.
What do you think?
I think it is eternal, right?
Is it?
Or not?
The world is eternal, but what about me? Am I eternal?
Uh, I think not.
So, to find the truth, we should know first that I am not eternal. The world may exist forever. We don't know. Perhaps it does.
Yeah.
But I am not eternal. So, is there some way by which I can be like this world? Eternal. Beginning of
Okay.
the instigation to find the truth, to find permanency when I realize that I am not permanent, I am impermanent. Then the
Yeah. Yeah.
spark,
Yeah.
once the spark comes, then the person starts looking around. How? That
So
spark.
first of all, one have
This is the fire. This spark is the fire.
First of all, one have to believe that everything is temporary around you. Even you are
We don't have to believe. It is so.
okay. Yeah, yeah,
Why should we believe? Look,
yeah.
belief means I don't know, therefore I believe. When I know, where is the question of belief? It's a fact. No?
So,
I'm curious, what are those things up on the shelf behind you? Are they some eatables?
no, no, no. They are not eatables.
Okay, fine.
Basically, there is a tabla behind there, I think.
Oh,
Yeah, wrapped.
okay. Next.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Pranam, sir. My question has to do with the Mandukya Upanishad, wherein the different matras of Om, we were discussing the O, M, Ma. So while we chant Om, sir, and the matra on which by default we lay emphasis on, does it have
Which is
anything to
which
do?
one is it? Which is which
Sir,
is the matra in which by default you give more emphasis on?
sir, Ma.
Right. Yes. So
And that is where the question arises from, because sir, in that session you mentioned of that is the state of consciousness, the wakefulness, and while in meditation we should be in that state, and sir, but that is, does it?
no. You got me wrong. R represents the state of wakefulness, which means in the wakefulness you know the world, you see the world. Right. I didn't say that. What did you say? You said I said something.
The state of wakefulness while
Yeah.
we are in.
Yeah. But no. In meditation, you cannot be in the state of wakefulness, but only in the state of wakefulness can you meditate
State. Okay.
deliberately. You cannot do. See, in dream, you while you are dreaming some beautiful dreams, that you cannot suddenly tell now meditate. No. Deep sleep, you are not aware of that, so you cannot. When can you meditate? Only in the waking state. That's what I meant.
So does it?
Yeah. Say, tell
So
me.
does the matra has an impact on your state of being or uh, the state of mind?
Yes, of course. Is the sound of the waking state. When you close your eyes and if you go into meditation, there in waking state, now you have skipped the Swapnavastha and the Shushupti. You are trying to go into that which is the end of Ma. So when you chant Om, in the waking state itself, you are transcending the dream, the deep sleep and going to Turiya. Because Turiya is the final state where, as you said, you leave more uh, emphasis on the Ma. See, when you chant Om, now if you want to chant again, you have to open your mouth. Fresh creation has to take place, again waking state, again. So, that is what it is. The other thing is that this Om, the sound Om, in all languages, in most languages, Indian languages especially, and in Eastern languages, it is used by people even without knowing that they are chanting it, they are saying it. You ask somebody, so how do you think it is? Are you fine?
Yes, sir.
So how is everything? Very nice. So even the word S is mm, mm. In the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, this word is taken for saying yes and then expanded upon. Why? How? I don't know how they did it those days. Anyway, so I think you got what I'm trying to say.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir.
Welcome.
Uh, Sir, the student questions are over for the day, but we do have faculty questions. Would you like to take them up?
Can we do it the next day, tomorrow? The next
As you said.
session.
As you said.
So can we wind up?
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. Actually, I'm very happy with this session. Everybody is thinking, the students also, they're using their mind and they're coming up with questions which are genuine. I mean, not just for the sake of questions. So there is scope, hopefully. Okay, thank you.
Thank you
Namaste.
so much, sir.
Thank
Namaskar.